Hello, I'm Dr. Janice Webb, clinical psychologist and author of 2 books. My first book came out in 2012. It was called Running on Empty, Overcome Your Childhood Emotional Neglect. My second book just came out. It's brand new, and it is called Running on Empty, No More, Transform Your Relationships with Your Partner, Your Parents, and Your Children. I'm making this video to answer a couple of questions about my new book. People ask me a lot, what's this book about and how is it different from the first one? And also, I also get asked a lot, do you have to read my first book, Running on Empty, Overcome Your Childhood Emotional Neglect, in order to understand and benefit from this new book? So I'm going to answer all those questions in this short video. And first I want to tell you, though, why I wrote this book. Basically, the more I became aware of the weight of childhood emotional neglect, the number of people that it's weighing on, really sort of dragging down their lives without their knowledge. I wrote the first book, I've been blogging, I developed an online CEN, Childhood Emotional Neglect Recovery Program, and I've been speaking and writing about this topic and treating people with CEN in my office since 2012. Over that time, I started to see how much this force from childhood that's so invisible is weighing down people's relationships without their knowledge. And in addition to that, I was being asked by people who read the first book, what about my CEN? What if I'm transferring it down to my children? Because that is unfortunately how CEN works. And I was also asked often, now I see the childhood emotional neglect in my husband, wife, partner, or in myself, and I see how it's affecting my long-term relationship or marriage. And what do I do about that? And the other question I was getting very often is, now that I understand that my parents emotionally neglected me, it makes me feel differently about them, and it makes it hard or difficult or painful to spend time with them. And all of these people wanted to know, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I totally understand, and I have the answers for that. For many people, I can explain what CEN is, how to deal with it, and how you can change your relationships using this concept once you understand what's really going on. And that's what this second book is about. It's taking childhood emotional neglect, which is really essentially when your parents fail to respond enough to your emotional needs as they raise you. You grow up receiving the message that your emotions are a sign of weakness or they're useless, and you grow up to essentially not pay enough attention to your own emotions and to other people's emotions. And when you're in a relationship, you underattend to the most powerful force there is in any relationship, and that's the emotions of the people involved. So this book is all about relationships and how to harness the power of your emotions and the other person's emotions, manage them and use them to deepen relationships. So the way I went about writing this book, if you understood everything that I just said, I think that you can pick up this book and read it, and it will make sense to you and you'll benefit greatly from it. If you're a little confused, you can do 2 things. You can go to my website, emotionalneglect.com, and take the emotional neglect questionnaire to find out if the concept to see if you grew up with childhood emotional neglect. And if you come out as 0, no CEN on the survey, then you can forget all about me and my book. On the other hand, if you do come out on the survey, measure up as someone who does have this at work in your life, then you can read my first book first and then pick up this book after that. Because once you read the first book, it makes a lot of sense to read this one. The more you grow and change based on what you understand in the first book, the more you need this book. So in Running on Empty No More, Transform Your Relationships, I will introduce you to 2 couples and their 4 sets of parents and their 4 children. And you will follow these 2 couples through the process of recognizing that they have childhood emotional neglect and starting to address it with their children, starting to address it in their marriages, and starting to address it with their parents. And you'll see the fits and starts they go through, and the challenges and the rewards. And you will identify with these lovely people in the book very much. You'll see your kids and their kids, and you will see your parents and their parents. And by doing this, my goal is to make this very rich, meaningful material more digestible to you, because you're reading about other people going through exactly what you're going through, and you're seeing how they deal with it and what works for them and what doesn't. But also I throw in lots and lots of tips and explanations and sidebars and bullet points with here's what you should do if this happens, here's how to prepare yourself to bring up the topic of childhood emotional neglect with your parents, for example, or how to approach your child differently. And whatever age your child is, I've got it covered in this book. I feel like, my first book becoming a bestseller, I did not phone this one in. I put my heart and soul and all of my professional expertise into this book. And it's kind of my heart in a book and my professional heart in a book, both personal and professional. So I hope that you find this book helpful, and I look forward to staying connected with you. Thanks so much for watching my video.